Hi guys, what's up? My name's Tom and welcome back to the FPL Centre. In today's video we're going to be looking at some of the best value players available in the Fantasy Champions League game this season among goalkeepers and defenders. If you want to see more content on the Champions League fantasy game in future, make sure to give this video a like and get yourself subscribed if you're not already. And before we take a look at the players, I'd just like to mention two important tips for building your team. So teams from groups A to D will always play on the same day, and teams from groups E to H will also always play on the same day. So when considering rotation or bench options, it's important to keep in mind who you're going to be able to rotate with or substitute. For example, choosing two goalkeepers from groups A to D is not a good idea, as this will mean that your first choice keeper, if he has a disappointing game or he's benched or he's injured or something happens, you're not going to have a substitute option available for the next day. Since both goalkeepers you've chosen are from groups A to D, they'll both have already played on the same day. Also remember that unlike FPL, where team selection is locked 1 hour before kickoff of the first game in the game week, Fantasy Champions League lineups do not lock until the actual kickoff of the first game. This means that valuable team information, like who's starting, for the first set of games in each week is going to be announced before fantasy lineups lock. So we're going to take a look at goalkeepers, and listed at the rock bottom price of €4 million, Robin Olsen may be one of the most underpriced players in the game, and for that reason he's looking like a must-own player for me. He's secured the role of starting goalkeeper for Roma since Alisson Becker's departure to Liverpool this summer. The Swedish international has played all three of Roma's games in Serie A this season, keeping one clean sheet, and was one of the standout performers for Sweden in their run to the World Cup quarter-finals earlier in the summer. Roma are in Group G, along with Real Madrid, CSKA Moscow and Pilsenia, giving Roma a decent chance at a clean sheet in at least 2 of their 6 matches. Next up we have Guilherme from Lokomotiv Moscow. Another cheap option among goalkeepers. At just 4.5 million, he's one of the cheapest options at the position and is a guaranteed starter for the side who qualified as a top seed by winning the Russian league title, conceding just 21 goals in 30 games, and that was the least number of goals conceded over the course of the season. Lokomotiv's league campaign this year kicked off back in July, and Guilherme has started in all 6 of their league games so far, keeping 3 clean sheets in the process. Porto, Schalke and Galatasaray make up the other teams in a wide open and relatively weak Group D, and will all have to make the dreaded away trip to Russia, where the Moscow-based side are likely to pick up the majority of their points. Next up is Ederson of Man City. If you're okay with paying a little more for a safer premium option goalkeeper, you could look in the direction of Group F, where Manchester City should be comfortable favourites to qualify ahead of Shakhtar, Lyon and Hoffenheim. At €5.5 million, Ederson comes in €0.5 million cheaper than the most expensive options at the position, while potentially providing a higher chance of clean sheets than most of the 6 million options. The downside here is that both Man City and Roma are in groups E to H, meaning that Ederson does not work in a goalkeeper pairing with the €4 million priced Robin Olsen, since both players would always be playing on the same day. A goalkeeper that does work well in rotation with Olsen is Napoli's David Ospina. Despite being in a very tough group along with Liverpool and PSG, the other team Napoli face in that group is Red Star Belgrade. It just so happens that Napoli come up against the Serbian outfit in both game weeks that Roma face Real Madrid. It's a risky strategy, but considering the most dangerous opponent on paper that this rotation would face is CSKA Moscow, it could return some decent rewards for those willing to take a chance. Now we'll look at some defenders, and first up is Alex Telles of Porto. The Brazilian has played every minute of Porto's league campaign so far this season, contributing 1 goal and 2 assists in just 4 games so far. He's consistently one of Porto's most influential attacking players, as he created 72 chances from left-back last season for Porto, more than any other player in the team. Telles has also historically taken set pieces for Porto, providing deliveries into the box from both free kicks and corners. Porto face Lokomotiv Moscow, Schalke and Galatasaray in a group they should be favourites to win when you consider their Champions League pedigree and the quality of players in their squad. You may not be able to rely on his clean sheet potential for points, but he could be among the very best defenders when it comes to goal and assist contributions. Next up we have João Cancelo. Juventus signed the Portuguese right-back from Valencia in the summer, spending around €40 million to get the deal done. Cancelo is a fairly attacking fullback who likes to get forward and deliver crosses into the area. He's played the full 90 minutes in 2 of Juventus' 3 Serie A games so far this season, although it should be noted that he was an unused substitute in their latest away trip to Parma, with Juan Cuadrado replacing him. If he can secure the right back spot from Cuadrado for the Champions League fixtures, he could provide a fantastic route into the Juventus defence at a discount price. Next up, a useful player as your 5th defender could come in the form of CSKA Moscow's Icelandic centre-back Hörður Magnusson. He started all 6 of CSKA Moscow's league games so far this season, and at just €4 million he offers the best possible value. With 2 group stage fixtures against Plzeň, who on paper are perhaps the most favourable fixture in the entire competition this year, he could provide some vital clean sheet points. And finally, one to keep an eye on is Manchester United's summer signing from Porto, Diogo Dalot. He's yet to make his debut as he's been recovering from a knee injury over the past few weeks, but his recovery is going well and he is reportedly keen to make his first appearance in a United shirt. I wouldn't recommend selecting him in your team heading into the first set of games, but once fit he could definitely be an interesting option to consider in a wildcard team or in future rounds. There are a few other players with honourable mentions and I'll leave their names in the description below. If you like this video and you want to see more Fantasy Champions League content, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and get yourself subscribed if you're not already. You can also follow me on Twitter at FPL Centre for regular updates on my fantasy teams in both FPL and Fantasy Champions League. Make sure you also follow at FPL Matador. He's a veteran of the Fantasy Champions League game with regular finishes in the top 1000. He regularly tweets valuable information such as predicted team lineups and is more than willing to answer any questions you might have on the Champions League fantasy game. And finally, if you want to read Fantasy Champions League articles, check out at FPL Forum on Twitter, who's releasing a series of articles summarising each group from a fantasy perspective. That's all from me today guys, thanks for watching.